Alrighty, boys and girls, here we go. It's time to do the most controversial video of the year, a video that in about 9 months' time looking back, I guarantee you that I'm gonna get a lot of these wrong. And that was kind of the case last season when I made my prediction video of both the West and the Eastern Conference, where as we get into the end of the season and looking back at these predictions, yeah, I can clearly tell that there were definitely some that I was way off, and that's the beauty of MLS. I mean, it is very hard to predict in terms of where each team played because you never know in terms of injuries and also signings that can really boost the team as the season goes along, or the fact that you might have some surprise package. I mean, every single season we always see some surprise package in teams that we definitely did not expect them to be a competitive team, and they end up to be a competitive team, and vice versa. We've seen teams where they have high expectation, and not only they fail miserably to meet that, but yeah, you just kind of wonder why they fall off so much as they did, and usually that happens with teams that are considered to be the off-season champion of the previous off-season. But with that being said, let us begin by talking about the prediction first with the Western Conference. I believe last year I did the West as well first, so I'll do it again. And we start off at number 15. And that, of course, is my team, the San Jose Earthquakes, or at least one of my team, that is. And yes, I know that there's already people saying, oh, this is me being negative again, isn't it? This is me just once again being negative on the Quakes. This is me once again, just kind of being harsh on this team, and this has kind of been how I view this team for the past couple of seasons. And I know that there are maybe some things that I've said in my season preview was a little bit harsh on the Quakes, but is it though? Because when you look at this team, the fact that they didn't do anything this offseason and still yet to do anything besides bring Timo Werner, who I have no idea who's going to give him the ball because there's just no playmaker on this team that will be elite enough to give him the ball all the time. And they literally just saw their best elite for absolutely nothing this offseason as well. And add to the fact that you have the defense in the midfield is still a big issue with this team and haven't addressed. And the fact that you also look at previous trends as well. I mentioned this in my season preview of the Quakes. Looking at the last 5 seasons, every single season when the Quakes finish the previous year around like the playoff line around like eighth, ninth, or 10th place, the very next season they bottom out and finish dead last in the standing. It happened in 2022. It happened in 2024. And I guarantee you that I think it's going to happen again in 2026, especially how doom and gloom this team is heading into this season. Now, number 14. This one's not a big surprise. It's going to be Sporting KC. Again, this team is clearly rebuilding. It's they're pretty much trying to make amends in terms of what happened in the previous regime, and that they've been long overdue rebuild. Consider this team has really been declining the last couple of years. And while I think it's going to be another rough season for Sporting KC fans, at least the good thing about this season is that there may be a little bit of hope. The fact that if the rebuild does go well, and if they can develop some players, especially on the defensive end as well, if they can solve their defensive role a bit, and if John Postcam could be the good replacement that they were hoping for Tim Milliam, then maybe, just maybe, there might be a glimmer of hope for Sporting KC fans, and maybe even border in terms of being a playoff contender. But because of the fact that when you look at the state of this roster and just kind of in the beginning of this painful rebuild, yeah, most likely they're going to be considered one of the worst teams in not only in the West, but probably one of the worst team in the league as well. Now, number 13, let's say Colorado. So yes, I know this might feel low of putting the Rapids there, and especially with the way that I do think the Rapids, they're kind of a little bit of a mystery team in many ways because on paper I know that this is a team that has a pretty good attack in many ways, and I think Erickson is going to take that next step up. He and Navarro is going to form a very good partnership with each other. But I still have a lot of questions when it comes to the defense of this team and also the goalkeeping as well. Zach Steffen has been very inconsistent during his time with the Colorado Rapids. There's games where he looks good, and then there's games where he looks absolutely horrendous, and the back line is also so pretty bad as well. They didn't really make too much improvement to it. And you add into the fact that they bring in Ryan into this team. Yeah, there's a lot of question when it comes to this team when it comes to whether or not if they're going to be successful whatsoever heading into this seasons. And I would say they're kind of like almost like the Vancouver Whitecaps last season, where I predict them pretty low, but I wouldn't be surprised if they might finish relatively well when all the pieces turns out to be a hit. Then we look at number 12. I'm gonna say Real Salt Lake. So yeah, for Real Salt Lake, they're another one of those teams where, you know, this team is going through a bit of a transitional period right now. You notice when I pick some of these teams that is near the bottom of the standings, most of these teams I pick in the bottom of the standings are teams that kind of going through a bit of a transition, and there's still a bit of a mystery on that. In the case of RSL, with so much changes that they of course made this off season, it is definitely TBD in terms of whether or not if it's going to be good enough, and especially with some of the new signings that they made. Knowing this team has kind of more misses than actually hit when it comes to some of the previous transfer signing. I do have doubt in terms of some of the new recruitment that they have and whether or not if those recruitment are going to be once again bust like what we've seen in previous time. But also, the other thing they're heavily rely on is definitely on the academy and also the super draft players, and they hope that they'll develop them enough. And they're also hoping that Diego Luna will stay with this team at least till the end of the season. I mean, he is definitely a big asset, even though he kind of had a bit of a down year, especially in the second half of the season. He's still a huge asset to this team and a huge piece on this attacking end. Now, at number 11, I'm going to say St. Louis. So, again, another team that is kind of in a rebuilding period. There's a lot of team in the Western Conference that are kind of going through a bit of a rebuild and a transitional period, and St. Louis City is another example of it. It's a team that is clearly going for a rebuild right now, clearly cleaning up the mess that the previous regime left that needs to be fixed. And although this season I've already mentioned their sporting director Corey Ray has already kind of fix the defense a little bit, upgrade the back line to hope to make it more stable. There is still a lot of question, at least on the attacking end as well, and especially the goals that comes for this team as well, because they lost Jao Claus this off season, and while he hasn't been as good as he was when he came into the scene of MLS and in his expansion season, that's still a huge piece that St. Louis has had, and there's still a lot of question going for on the attack of whether or not if it's good enough, and especially the number 9 position. That is a position that will be very interesting to see whether they will do upgrade. I mean, Simon Betcher is the main 9 right now, and he could of course have a breakout season as well. But I do think that when you look at this team itself, and also with Johan Deme, it's going to be interesting to see the game model that he used and the tactics that he used work instantly, because one thing about previous Columbus Crew assistant that is part of Wilfred Nancy as Johan Deme was, is that when they don't have the roster to do the Nancy ball style that they trying to implement their team when they're the head coach, yeah, it failed miserably. We saw that with Laurent Courtois. He tried to copy that Nancy ball style in Montreal, and it didn't quite work out because Montreal just didn't have the player. Now, I'm not saying Johan Dame is going to do the same thing with St. Louis, but especially with the way how St. Louis has looked, especially for their new last interim head coach and Dave Critchley, kind of feels like they're a team that is going to be more focused on the possession kind of style play, maybe push man forward. Again, that maybe is the reason why they upgrade the defense. They want to have a defense that can at least be able to do that, because if they don't have a defense that is able to push man forward, then we just saw what happened last season under Dave Critchley, where they were more adventurous going for it, but man, they were getting absolutely rinsed at the back because of how bad their defense was last season. Then we look at number 10, team that just missed out on the playoffs. And that, of course, is the Portland Timbers. So this feels like it's one that is pretty easy to predict, because, to predict the Portland Timbers where they finish it, I always kind of predict it's going to be right around the 7, 8, 9, 10, or even 11 range. That's kind of where this team has been in the last 4 years. And I mentioned before in my season preview, as much as I want to give Timbers fan hope that they finally can get out of this mediocrity stage that they've been in the last 4 years of finishing 40 points and so forth, I don't know if this is going to be the year that they get out of it, especially of who is still the head coach of this team right now, and especially when you look at this team itself, there's still a lot of question on this team. It's actually more on the attacking end, I would say that there's a lot of question as well because for once, I think their defense is pretty good as it's shown last season as well. But man, the attack, especially with the talent that they have and kind of a little bit had a little underachieving season, you wonder whether if that's going to continue heading into this season as well. But as long as Phil Neville is the head coach of this team, you know what's going to happen. It's probably going to be them finishing either just miss out on the playoffs or made it into the playing round, and then it's going to be an early first round exit or a playing round exit because that's just been the standard at least in the last four seasons. And we look at number 9, the team that I think will just make the playoffs, and of course it's the Houston Dynamo. So I think the Dynamo will have a better season compared to last season. I think a big part of why I think the Dynamo have a better season is that at least this season they're not going to be hamstrung when it comes to not have enough quality and have a very incomplete roster. I think that kind of played a big part of why the Dynamo failed last season. This season, it feels like the front office actually decided to be proactive in terms of making some signings. I do like the signings of Mateus Bogusz. I think he's going to bring a lot to the table. I don't really completely agree of them making him a DP player, but when you look at what he did doing his time with LAFC, I mean, maybe I can understand why they maybe overpaid him a little bit as well. And then, of course, the other important piece that they brought back is Ache Ache. Now, I know Hector Herrera, I don't know if he's going to be the same player that he was with the Houston Dynamo a couple of years ago, just kind of running the show. He is starting to get older, but just having that present back to this team, I think will definitely get a big boost to this team. The only question I will say about the Houston Dynamo, why I don't put them a little bit higher than they are right now, is that I still have question on their defense, which their defense last season wasn't great, and then of course I have question in terms of the number nine position. Right now they have Ezekiel Ponce as the nine. He was very underwhelming last season, even finished as a top goal scorer, and then it's Ben Olsen himself. Again, I've mentioned before with Ben Olsen, the fact that it feels like every single year it's been kind of gone through a bit of a decline in terms of how this team has, and this is no surprise. That was the same case when we saw during his tenure with DC United, where there are some good periods, but there was also a lot of bad periods that kind of led to his ousting with DC United. Then at number 8, let's say my other team, Minnesota. So yeah, I know this feels low where I put the Loons up here, but again, it's justified considering that there's still a lot of question about this team heading into the season with all the moves that they made this off season. There's a lot of question whether, of course, it will work, and especially what also doesn't help Minnesota this season is the fact that they have just such a tough schedule to start the season. I would not be surprised if this team by the time when we hit to March might be near the bottom of the Western Conference because of all the tough opponent that they have to face, and the fact that this is just a complete overhaul when it comes to the system that the Loons are going to run. The system that Cam Nollan is going to run is it's going to be completely different than what we see with Eric Ramsey. This team is going to be more possession based and also are kind of pressing more, similar to what we see with Adrian Keefe when he took over this team as well. But there's a big question of whether or not, of course, that of course would work out. And then, of course, there's the elephant of the room of James Rodriguez. If James Rodriguez can look good straight away and look motivated, there's no doubt that I think the Loons might have a chance to pull off those big wins that they absolutely needed because of the brutal start to the season. But if he's not fit and he's also kind of not motivated, as we've seen in the past in his club level, yeah, that does really drop the ceiling and really drop the floor of this team as well. And especially if they don't decide to re-sign him, they will be kind of back in that same situation of maybe finding that creative number 10 player. I mean, I know Joaquin Pereira can be the guy, and maybe that might be the thing that they might go with, but I do still feel like they need a good 10 on this team as well, and even a 9 as well. I mean, that's another big concern I would say about this team. You notice how these last 3 teams that I mentioned, or the last 4 teams that I mentioned, Minnesota, Houston, Portland, and St. Louis. What does all 4 of these teams have in common? They do have question when it comes to their number 9 and whether or not, of course, they would produce. Then we look at number 7. I'm just gonna say the Galaxy is gonna be number 7, and I also wouldn't be surprised they might be higher in the standings because I feel feel like, again, last season, I know it was a disastrous season for the Galaxy, but if you just kind of ignore what they happened in their 17 game winless run, they were actually pretty respectable in the second half of the season. I even mentioned this actually would have been where they would have finished or around this place if you just don't look at what happened in the first half of the season when they went on that winless run and they were putting points per game. That was a playoff team. So I think that that's going to be the same case, but except this season, even without Ricky Pooch, I do think that they have upgraded. On the defensive front, they definitely trying to once again upgrade with bringing Justin Hack and also Jacob Lesnes. But going forward on the attacking end, you would hope that maybe both Painso and Peck will have a bounce back year. And then of course you do have that number 9 that they didn't have last season in Joao Klaus, that they hope that he is going to be a difference maker and that he could be like that Dejan Jovic kind of guy that scored the goals for this team. And as a result, I wouldn't be surprised if this team might be higher than where I think that they are. I think I'm kind of underrating the Galaxy even a bit by putting them in 7th position right now. I think the only reason why I put them there is that, again, I still have question about their defense and goalkeeping. It's a tale as old as time when I talk about the LA Galaxy, but the attack should be good. I think it's going to be much better compared to last season, and that's even without the service of Ricky Pooch for the entire the of 2026 as well. Then at number 6, I'm gonna put Austin. So I'm gonna put them in the same spot they finished last season. And that's despite the fact that they did improve the team, especially on the attacking end. Bring Jaden Nelson, I think that's a huge move for them, and even bring Rosales, a little bit of a good punch from the wingback position. But again, with all the upgrades that they have, I think Austin is going to be a better team heading into this season, especially on the attacking front. Though again, that all depends on whether one of those two number 9 in Uzuni and Vasquez can produce. Because if they can't produce, there is still a lot of question of this team, and there's also that question of the DP10 as well. I do think that they want to get that, consider they don't really have that central playmaker that if they can get that kind of player, get that Driussi type of player, then I think the ceiling is going to be higher on this team. But there's no doubt that I think when you look at this team, it's going to be a playoff team once again. But it should be a more exciting team to watch this season. It can't be like last season where yes, they did make it to the playoffs as the 6th seed, but man, oh man, they play some very brutal style of soccer. And I know, with Nico Estevez being a more defensive minded head coach, maybe that's kind of the reason why they struggle so much going forward on the attacking end. But you got to say, with some of the signings that they have, and also the up and coming signings that they made this season, maybe get more attacking power, and also maybe letting go one of their DP forward in either Uzuni or Vasquez, and maybe find a right replacement. There could be a chance that Austin could go higher in the standings. But for now, I think 6th place is a pretty fair assessment. Then at number 5, Dallas. So this might feels a little bit high too, because I have seen a lot of people put Dallas kind of like near around this range, which I'm kind of surprised because I do think that this team is very underrated. I think this team is flying a lot of people's under the radar, and it was kind of the case last season as well, where nobody was talking about how they were on a crazy long unbeaten streak to even get themselves back into the playoff contention. Now, during that stretch, were they playing the prettiest brand of soccer? Absolutely not. They weren't. There was a lot of games where they were kind of grinding things out, which is something that I don't think Dallas fans were expecting. When they of course got Peter Quo, it was kind of started to be similar to what how Nico Estevez was when he was with FC Dallas, but it was necessary. I mean, it was necessary to stop giving up so many goals that they did in the beginning of the season, and now heading into this season itself. We'll see whether or not if Peter Quo will once again go back to his more attacking kind of style that he that is kind of the reason why he was brought to FC Dallas in the first place. And just like Austin, for Dallas, the thing that will definitely keep raising the floor of this team and also raising the ceiling, get a DP level of playmaker, a DP 10 as well. If they can get that DP 10, this team can instantly become one of the better team in the West, because we already know that this team has a good midfield and defense, and also Kolodi had really good coming out party last season as the goalkeeper. So as a result, I think I'm actually pretty high on Dallas this season. I think they're going to continue that good run that they had last season. I mean, it's just kind of unfortunate in the playoffs they ran into Vancouver. Have they not ran to Vancouver and maybe ran into a little bit of a mid tier kind of playoff team, I think they would have advanced to the next round. But I guess that's what happened when they kind of dug themselves a hole last season and had to climb out of that hole, that incredible run that they had in the second half season. They're just hoping that's not going to be the case again this year. Now at number four, say San Diego. So I said this before. I think San Diego is going to have a regression, and I know some San Diego fans are going to immediately point to me of look at the Pumas return. Look how we didn't skip a beat. Yes, they look really good during that game against Pumas, and this is the other thing that is kind of tricky to see because when you already look at some teams that play in the Concacaf Champions Cup already have competitive action. I think they'll probably get that advantage at least in the beginning of the season with teams that are still trying to get back to competitive edge. But still, that's a very small sample size. And with the way that when you look at the San Diego team now have to battle both fronts with both MLS and now the Concacaf Champions Cup, and especially when you look at the depth of this team, I mean, there are some good depth pieces on this team, but I don't know if it's gonna be enough in terms of them have to battle both fronts and still be sustainable. And especially, I even said this upcoming season, I do think this team is going to regress mainly because last season there were a couple of times where they were just getting bailed out because of Anders success and him just kind of carried the team. And there's no doubt that I think he's going to do it again this season. I think he's going to have another good year, but I doubt that it's going to be similar to last season where there was multiple games last season. I'm just thinking like, man, San Diego are getting absolutely pounced in this game, and yet somehow Anders showed up out of nowhere and score a big goal like that. I don't think they're going to get as that much of a luck this season as they would be last season as well. Now at number three, say Seattle. So I think Seattle is going to have a good season. Seattle has always had a pretty good season. Minus what happened in I think it was 2023 when they missed out on the playoffs for the first time in franchise history. This team always is around this range as well. The game model of this team is absolutely spectacular as well, and I expect this team to be competitive again. Although one thing that Sounders fans is a little concerned about this team is the fact that if they do get hit with an injury crisis like they did last season, then it definitely lowered the floor of this team a bit, and especially with them also playing in multiple competition, do they have the depth to do so? I do think so because again they have such a good academy where they can just insert some of those academy players and instantly they'll do well. Kind of as a filler for Brian Schmetzer to maybe rest some of his guys, or if they go through a bit of an injury crisis again, at least he has the pieces to do so. But overall, again, you'd be stupid to not put the Sounders among one of the best team in the Western Conference. It's been that way for over a decade now, and it's going to be again this season as well. Now at number two, let's say LAFC. So I know again, just like as I talked about San Diego, where I'm pretty sure everybody are saying, well, after that performance that they had against Real Español, it's pretty easy that they're the team to beat in the West. And I do think that they are definitely going to be one of the team to beat in the Western Conference, and that there's no doubt that they should be finishing no lower than third or fourth place this season, unless if Mark Dos Santos kind of screw things up a bit, which I know after last night against Real Español, it didn't kind of show that, but again, it's very limited sample size, and you're playing against Real Español, who they're a team that clearly was not prepared in the game and are considered to be a little bit of a lower tier team compared to some actual MLS competition that they might face this season as well. But at the same time, I have no doubt that the Song and Bawanga combination. I mean, you talk about some deadly dynamic duo this league has to offer. Song and Bawanga is right there in the top five, maybe even top three as the deadly duo, and is going to be the one that really carried this attack throughout the season, like what we saw last season as well. And again, as long as Mark Dos Santos doesn't kind of screw things up a bit and decided to kind of tinker with what is already working. I mean, that's kind of the reason why yesterday LAFC looked like they were in mid-season form against Real España. Mark Dos Santos didn't really tamper with the tactics a lot. A lot of the things that you saw yesterday that LAFC did to Real España was very similar to what we saw when Steve Cherundolo was in charge of this team. So I guess maybe that's going to be something that Mark Dos Santos would do, and that should be the right thing to do because why tinker with something? Why fix something that isn't broken. You know what they say: if it ain't broken, don't fix it. Now, in terms of the top team, say Vancouver. So yeah, last season Vancouver was very close of finishing at the top of the Western Conference. Have they not lost to Dallas on decision day, they would have finished top of the West, and they were at the top of the West for pretty much almost the entire season last year as well. And I expect it's going to be the same case again. I mean, this is the team that, besides LAFC, I still think Vancouver is the team to beat. This team is just stacked from top to bottom. Even with some of the losses that they have with Jaden Nelson and Ali Ahmed no longer on this team, it doesn't really matter because this team have so much weapons both up and down in the roster and also in the depth chart as well. And you also get a chance to now see a full season of Thomas Muller, who I have no doubt that last season, there was some people that were skeptical of Thomas Muller coming into this team, how much impact did he made with this team. Yeah, he definitely made a huge impact to this team. He looked like he hasn't skipped the beat in terms of how he played last season, being that playmaker and being the even a goal scorer as well. He definitely scored more goals than I thought he would be. Albeit a lot of them, of course, are from the penalty spot. But the influence that he has on the team, it just feels like with him being there, he really raised the ceiling and the floor of this team to a next level. And now with him still being there, and as I expect the Whitecaps to continue to be good, and also Jasper Sorensen being probably the best head coach right now in this league. Yeah, I think that the Whitecaps have a legitimate shot of once again being a top team. And this is despite the fact that they will, of course, have to battle through multiple competition just like they did last season. But last season, when they had to deal with that, they didn't really skip a beat for most of the game. And a big reason why is because this is probably one of the deepest team in the league. I mean, that next man up mentality is so strong with Vancouver that you can literally put in a backup player in this Whitecaps team, and they it doesn't feels like they really lost too much quality. That's how good this team is, and this is kind of the reason why this team is maybe be the team to beat. I mean, I'm sorry, LAFC fans, but I do think if you want to see who is the team to beat in the West, I still think it's Vancouver, and this team definitely has a limited shot to get back to where they were last season and try to finish the job that was left unfinished. And then, of course, is bring an MLS Cup to British Columbia before the team maybe potentially could be relocated because of the off-field situation that is going on. That unfortunately puts a big uncertainty for kind of future on whether or not the Whitecaps are going to be staying in Vancouver. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for my prediction of this season. By the way, speaking of the Vancouver Whitecaps, last year didn't I predict the Whitecaps to finish dead last? What a year it makes when it comes to me predicting the Whitecaps to finish dead last season to them being in first place. Hopefully, this is not the reverse jinx. The fact that they maybe might not finish as well as they do. And hey, I picked the San Jose Earthquakes to finish dead last. Maybe we'll see this year that miraculously they might finish top of the West again if that's how it is. I mean, again, I doubt that. Of course, it is going to happen. But one thing for sure is that I know some of these prediction is going to be really wrong when I look at it back in November. And as always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this prediction, and let me know in the comments below, do you agree or disagree? I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of disagreement. There's going to be people that said that some of the teams I put are a little bit too high or a little bit too low. That's just a reality when it comes to making prediction video, and that's why I said in the beginning of the video, get ready to make the most controversial video of the year. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.